Hi guys, it's Tori. Welcome back to my channel. Honestly, I don't even know if I remember how to do this. As you might have noticed, I got a haircut and it's awesome and I feel like a completely new person and I love it so much. Okay, so it has been a while since I was on this channel, which is unforgivable, and I'm so sorry. It's really not unforgivable, but I feel bad anyway. I've been working on my novel, which I'm about halfway through the final draft. I'm getting so close to it actually being published, and I'm so excited. I can't stand it. But I've been really trying to focus on that, and YouTube has definitely suffered because I'm in the last stages of finishing the book, and that has definitely taken most of my time. However, I wanted to come back on here because I have now read all the way up through Edge Dancer, which is the 2.5 installation of the Stormlight Archive, and I'm here to talk today about my top 10 characters in the Stormlight Archive. Before I get into the characters, I'm just going to let you know that I am going to keep this video spoiler free. So if you have not read all the way up to 2.5 in the Stormlight Archive, don't worry about it. I'm not going to spoil anything for you so you can enjoy the video. Now it's going to be interesting to see if this changes at all once I have read Oathbringer. Coming in at number 10 is a character who completely stole my heart, even though he's not in the books a ton, and that is Kaladin's brother, Tian. I absolutely loved him. He is such a sweet character, and he definitely was one of those characters that I cared about him the minute he showed up in the story, and I think part of that is because seeing Tian through Kaladin's eyes as his little brother desperately made me fall in love with him, and he was the sweetest thing ever, and I loved the contrast between him and Kaladin and all of that. Character number 9. Okay, the next character on my list is the assassin in white, Seth himself. I love Seth. I find myself drawn to Seth because he's such a tragic character, because he obviously would not be doing the things that he is doing if it were up to him, but he's kind of enslaved by this lifestyle, and I just think that he's an incredibly conflicted character that I really do care about, and I'm interested to see what happens with him. Number 8 is Shallan, and don't get me wrong, I do love Shallan and I do really care about her, and I want her to have a very wonderful, happy life after all of the things that she has been through. But I will say that I still haven't felt as connected to her as I have a lot of the other characters, and I think that's just honestly because her story arc doesn't pull me in quite as much as some of the other characters do. I still love her. I still think that Sanderson, especially in Words of Radiance, does a fantastic job developing her character and giving us some insight into who she is and why she is the way that she is. So I do think that Shallan could potentially jump up on this list, but with the characters above her, it would take a lot for her to knock any of them off in my mind. So I'm just going to put her at a solid number 8 and just say, Shallan, girl, I love you. Keep going. Number 7 is Shallan's little sidekick, PATRON, who is a spren, so I guess that's a tiny spoiler. He is hilarious. He is super straight-laced. I love his interactions with Shallan and how his perspective on everything is just so funny and interesting, and I found myself finding a lot of comedy in him, which I appreciated. There's a character that comes up a little bit later in Words of Radiance and then also in Edge Dancer, which is 2.5. If you guys know who Wendell is at this point, I do see some similarities between those two characters. However, I just find PATRON so refreshing, and I love that he's paired with Shallan because just like Kaladin and Sil, they're a very good contrast for each other. Character number 6 on this list is Renarin, who is the younger son of Dalinar, our favorite general, and Renarin just has this sweetness to him that is so refreshing in the middle of all this giant camp of hardened soldiers, and he's a great contrast with his older brother Adolin. His selflessness and his total devotion to his family, and especially his father and brother, is really lovely, and I found myself rooting for him so hard in these two books. And I would love to see him have a big moment in Oathbringer. I don't know if that's gonna happen, but I would love to see that. Number 5 for me on this list is a solid Dalinar. Dalinar Kholin is one of those characters that honestly, I have this love-hate relationship with him because he's brilliant at military strategy, but when it comes to politics and reading other people, that kind of like interpersonal side of things, let's be honest, Dalinar's kind of an idiot. And it's one of those things where I feel like he and Kaladin actually have a lot of things in common when it comes to that, and I think that's one of the reasons why they connect to each other so well. But Dalinar, Dalinar. There's so many moments where I want to pull out my hair during these books with Dalinar, and I'm just like, what are you doing? But that aside, he is such a staunch, like, conflicted hero that I love him. I think Sanderson did a fantastic job writing his age, where he has that feeling of kind of wisdom and maturity that a lot of the younger characters don't have, so I think that distinction is really lovely. And I really love Dalinar's just constant search for honor and doing the right thing and figuring out, trying to suffer through, like, what, with all of these options and all of these things that I could do wrong, how on earth do I find the right thing to do? And it's something that I really connected with for him, and I think makes him such a powerful character. Okay, number 4 on this list is Yazna Kholin, who is the sister of King Elhokar, the daughter of Dalinar's brother Gavilar, who's murdered in the beginning of book 1. And she is a powerhouse of a character. I love her so much. She is so good at asking hard questions, and just, she's stubborn, but she's also so determined to be devoted to her family in her own way. Even though she has this kind of aura of wisdom and understanding of the world that she kind of projects out whenever she goes anywhere, there's also a side to her that is really doesn't know what is the right thing to do, and she feels afraid and tired as she's trying to work through all of these things with her family and with the world at large. And I think she's just such a powerful character who, her intelligence is so attractive, and it just kind of comes through the pages where you're drawn in and you want to talk to her and have a conversation with her about the world and what's happening in it. And at the same time, you know that it would be kind of frustrating because Yazna does have a bit of an ego. So I just find her to be a very interesting, nuanced character, and I think that Sanderson does such a great job with keeping his female characters very distinct, which is something that I have found to be a problem with a lot of other male authors. So I really appreciate that about all of the cast of female characters, honestly, but Yazna in particular I think is such a powerful female character, and I cannot wait to see how she ties in with the whole story in general and all of that, because I think she is just really interesting. In the number 3 spot is everybody's favorite Windspren, and that is Silfreyna, or Sil, who is Kaladin's right-hand woman, and she is just a little light bundle of wonderful delight, and I love her so much. She is such an awesome companion to Kaladin, and he's got this kind of dark, brooding nature, and she is just this wonderful, sarcastic, loving little ball of light, and I love it so much because Cal deserved that so much. Can we all agree that that is like the perfect spren for Kaladin to get stuck with? Seeing her journey in the beginning of Way of Kings to kind of recovering her knowledge of the world and becoming more attached to Kaladin is just so fun to watch and so interesting, and she does a great job of giving us an insight into that whole world of spren and what they do and all that kind of partnership with the different Knights Radiant and all of those things. I think she's just such an awesome little character, and I adore her so much. Okay, we are up to my top 2 characters in the Stormlight Archive, and honestly, it was really hard for me to differentiate from the top 2 spots just because I love these 2 characters so much, and they are kind of parallels of each other, even though they would swear they're not. I love them both so much, so this is more kind of a tie for first place with a slight nudge to first place. Number 2 is Adolin Kholin. Now, I have noticed that Adolin gets kind of a bad rap from a lot of people who love the Stormlight Archive because he's this kind of playboy character and he seems pretty close-minded to a lot of things. But I actually find Adolin to be really such a good-hearted character, and he doesn't like being told that he's wrong, but let's face it, nobody does. But he is also willing to look at the world from a different perspective to some degree, and I think where he may start more closed-minded in the beginning of the book, you definitely see him starting to ask questions and open up to some new ideas as the books go along, and he just has such a strong hero feel to him, and he is very selfless when it comes to his family, and he's trying so hard to support his father in all of the craziness that's happening around them. I love his temper. I love that about him because that's something that I relate to a lot, and that his reactions to Sadeas throughout the books are just so relatable because honestly, all of us readers were feeling it, so I'm glad somebody in the book actually was acting the way we all wanted to. I might do an entire video about Adolin at some point and do a deeper dive into his character because I do find it really interesting that he seems to be kind of a polarizing character where people either love him or hate him, and I think that says a lot about a character, that they're very nuanced, and that it's an interesting thing to find a character that's so polarizing. Everybody loves him, and so it makes me irritated because I always hate giving my top spot to a character that's everybody loves, but he just deserves it and there's nothing I can do about it. So number 1 is Kaladin, and Kaladin really carried the first book for me. I loved Dalinar in Way of Kings as well, but Kaladin was the main thread that pulled me through that book, and reading about his past and just seeing him trying to come to terms with everything, and then in book 2 where a lot of the plot lines start to converge with each other. He's just such a magnetic character, and I think you see that even within the pages of the story because all of these characters are just magnetized to him because he has that bearing of a leader, but he again is so nuanced and conflicted in himself, and I think that's something that I'm seeing as a theme throughout all of these characters, is they're dealing with that inner conflict constantly throughout the book. He definitely needs to take a chill pill half the time and maybe drink some lemonade and read a nice book. I don't know, but he's just very magnetizing, and I find him to be such a wonderful representation of a kind of dark hero character. I tend to like military characters to begin with, so it was not hard for me to really dive into and immerse myself in Kaladin's story arc. That is my complete list of my top 10 Stormlight Archive characters currently. We'll see if Oathbringer changes anything, but thank you guys so much for watching. To all my new subscribers, welcome to the channel. Thank you so much for being here. I look forward to getting to know all of you. Let me know in the comments who your favorites are from the Stormlight Archive, and I will see you guys in the next video.